Have you ever noticed how effortlessly some women care for people around them, but hesitate when it comes to caring for themselves? A woman can remember everyone's birthdays, check if her parents took their medicine, make sure her children are okay, and support her partner through stress and encourage her friends when they are going through heartbreak, and still show up smiling at work. But ask her one simple question: how are you doing? And suddenly there is silence. Because somewhere along the way, many women learned that nurturing others is expected, but nurturing themselves feels selfish. Today, we are talking about the powerful difference between how women nurture others versus how they nurture themselves, and why reclaiming self care is not selfish, but in fact, it's necessary. From a very young age, girls are often taught to be caregivers: be kind, be helpful, be understanding, be patient, be the peacemaker, and be the one who notices when someone is hurting. And while these qualities are beautiful and they often come with an unspoken lesson, something we don't even realize, that your value lies in how much you give. So many women grow up believing love must be earned through sacrifice and through service. That if I do more, I will be appreciated, or if I sacrifice enough, I'll be loved. If everyone else is okay, then I can finally rest. And the issue is that finally rarely comes, because there is always someone who needs something. And so women become experts in emotional labor. They anticipate needs before they are spoken. They manage visible responsibilities that nobody notices. And they carry the emotional climate of homes, relationships, and workplaces. They remember, organize, soothe, fix, support, and absorb. And most of the time, they do it without anybody noticing. And it's not because they want praise, it's simply because they have been conditioned to believe that this is what love looks like. But this is the painful part. The same compassion that women offer others is often the very compassion that they deny themselves. When a friend is exhausted, they will say, "Oh, you need rest." When their siblings are overwhelmed, they will say that, "Okay, take a break." When their partner feels guilty of something, they will say, "Okay, it's fine, you are doing enough." But when they are exhausted, they say, "I should be stronger. I just need to push through. Maybe I'm not doing enough." Uh, so the standards are very, very different. Why? Because many women have been taught that their needs are secondary, that boundaries are rude, that rest must be earned, and that asking for help is weakness, or simply that self care is indulgent. And so they pour and pour and pour until there is almost nothing left. And burnout becomes normal, exhaustion becomes personality, and silence becomes survival. And the world praises them for it. She's so strong. She handles everything. She never complains. But strength without support becomes suffering. And being needed by everyone can slowly make you invisible to yourself. So let's talk about motherhood for a moment, because nowhere is this contrast more visible. Mothers are often celebrated for self sacrifice. The image of the good mother is someone who gives endlessly. She eats last, she sleeps the least, worries the most, She's praised for disappearing into everyone else's needs. But here's the truth, no one says enough that children do not need a mother who is constantly depleted. They need a mother who is emotionally alive, who knows her worth, who models boundaries, who teaches them that love does not require self abandonment, because children learn not just from what women say, but also from what they see. If they see a woman constantly neglecting herself, apologizing for resting, and feeling guilty for existing outside of service, they learn that womanhood means exhaustion. But if they see a woman honoring herself, they learn that care includes the self as well. And that changes generations. This shows up in relationships. Many women become the emotional managers of love. They remember the anniversaries, they repair the conflicts, they sense emotional distance before it becomes obvious. They hold conversations that others avoid. They become the translators of silence. But sometimes, in trying to save relationships, they lose themselves inside them. They become so focused on being chosen that they forget to choose themselves. They ask that, how can I make this work, instead of, is this working for me? And that question changes everything, because nurturing others should never require abandoning yourself. Love should not feel like unpaid emotional labor, and that care should not be one sided. And being the strong one should not mean being the only one carrying the weight. Self nurturing begins with just one radical belief that I matter too, not after everyone else, not when everything is finished, not when I have proven that I deserve it, you know, now as I am. And that means learning to rest without guilt, to say no without explanation, to ask for help without shame, to protect your peace without apology, to stop treating your own needs like interruptions. And I agree, it feels really uncomfortable at first because women are often rewarded for overgiving. People may call boundaries selfish and they may resist the new version of you, especially if they benefited from the old one. But discomfort is not failure. Sometimes it is proof that healing is happening. Sometimes choosing yourself feels unfamiliar because abandonment was normal. And it does not mean that you are doing it wrong. It means that you are learning, healing, returning to yourself. And let's be clear that self care is not just spa days and skincare routines. It's deeper than that. Self care is emotional honesty. It's saying, I am tired, or admitting that this hurts. It's walking away from things that drain you or people. It's choosing people who pour back. It's forgiving yourself for being human. And it's also remembering that your body is not a machine and that your heart is not a public property. It's understanding that nurturing yourself is not separate from nurturing others. And this is what I feel makes healthy love possible, because people who never receive care often begin to confuse love with depletion, and that's really dangerous. You cannot sustainably give that you never have allowed yourself to receive. You cannot teach self worth while practicing self neglect. And you cannot keep setting yourself on fire to keep everyone else warm. So, who takes care of the woman who takes care of everything and everyone? And this answer must include herself, because healing means becoming equally caring toward yourself. And imagine like what would change if women nurtured themselves the way they nurture others, the way they care for people around them, if they spoke to themselves like they speak to their daughters, if they protected themselves like they protect their families, if they believe that they are worthy of softness too, that would not make women less loving. It would make her more free, stronger, whole. uh, and they should just remember that they are allowed to rest, they are allowed to need something, they are allowed to be cared for, and you don't have to break yourself to prove your love, because nurturing others is beautiful, but nurturing yourself is revolutionary, you know and that is, I feel, where true healing begins. And it's not in doing more, but in simply asking that, what do I need? Thank you for watching. And if this resonated with you, please tell me in the comments. See you in the next episode.